Rubio's office. Thank you for all he does fighting the fight for us up in D.C. We have, and you have somebody from your office here?
I'm intern. This is he's from Orange Park.
Oh, an intern from Orange Park. Very nice. Thank you for being here. Will Torres is here from CFO Jeff Atwater's office. Will, and we'll see CFO Jeff Atwater for dinner on Thursday night at the Republican Flag Day dinner. But I'll mention about a special treat Friday morning and finally Friday with Mr. Atwater. So stay tuned. And we have Sharice Stewart, the County Commissioner, with me. We are enjoying our last few months here, but she's also Director of Career and Technical Education and a key part of the workforce education initiatives of the Chamber. So we're very appreciative of her leadership there at the school district. Well, I want to thank you again all for your leadership and partnership with the Chamber and what you do that makes it possible for the Chamber to do a lot of the great things to help our business community, to especially thrive socially and professionally here. And this is evidenced by we have another record crowd for an event. Things are going great, and it is due to your support as evidenced by the large crowd here. We do have some upcoming events I just want to point out very quickly. June 6th, I talked about Family Friday. We will have special guest CFO Jeff Atwater, Chief Financial Officer, one of 4 cabinet members, a very key part of your leadership here in the state, making critical decisions. So he will be at Family Friday. He'll come in, I believe, in the beginning, make some comments, take some questions. So here's an opportunity as a small business person to meet one of the key leaders that makes critical decisions that impact your business and your life. So we're very appreciative of Will and Jeff Atwater taking time out of their busy schedules. June 11th, we have Bridge to Bridge at Magnolia Point. Also on June 11th, we have the EDC Quarterly. Bill, take 30 seconds real quick. Tell them about your lunch.
Thank you very much, Doug. I appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. On June 11th, we're having our second quarter economic development luncheon. Andre Wallace, who is the CEO of the Downtown Investment Authority, is our keynote speaker. And Representative Cummings will also be a speaker. He is going to give us a little bit of a forecast of what's coming up next year for the legislature. And while I have the floor, I want to also congratulate Leslie while she's in the room here for her recent election to the chair of the Republican Party of Florida. Congratulations.
June 18th, Chamber U Series continues right here at CCOP. I can't remember the topic, but it will be critical to your future success. I guarantee you that. July 24th, we are starting on embarking on a new event here at the Chamber. It is a food networking event. It's called Untapped. Some craft brewers will be there as well. I don't think there's going to be growlers. I think it's just rotation thing. The corporate sponsor for that and our newest heritage member is AT&T, and Heather Duncan is here, so thank you so much. The title sponsorship is still available, so come see me. Or Kelly. August 4th, our Teacher Appreciation Expo, which is at Orange Park Mall. And that's always a great event. It's an opportunity for the business community to help the teachers who are coming on board and doing some great things for our students and helping them meet some of the needs they have in the classroom, taking care of our wonderful children. September 25th is our Business and Health Expo, and Bob Olson with Pete Sutton, they are transforming it for this year, so I'm pretty excited to see what comes forth. It'll be a blue ribbon event, like a blue ribbon fair, so I'm pretty excited. And we are also going to be rolling out pretty shortly what we call the Plus One membership. And if you're a company that's a member and you have employees that would like to join as individuals, it's a $95 membership, whereas right now an employee of one or a company of one would be $300. So this is a tremendous savings, obviously, like a realtor broker, where you have a lot of individuals. That when I was a real estate agent, I joined as an individual. So this is a tremendous savings. We'll be rolling that out. It allows a lot of people great savings to take part in chamber activities and be a member. So we'll be rolling that out, and that'll be a great addition to our system to get people involved. And then we're going to have another standing up event, and one of the key leaders in that actually was his genesis is Brian Knight. I know he's here. Brian Knight, Pragmatic Works, one of our board members. We're standing up at IT Council, and that will be July 23rd, and that will really be the next big business thing, because I don't care if you're selling pencils or selling medical products to worth $100 million. IT touches your business in some way, shape, or form. So stand by for that to grow and prosper, and thanks to Brian and a whole bunch of other folks that will make that work. The location is being worked out. July 23rd, IT Council starts here in Clay County. Lastly, I just want to say, and things that are internally to the Chamber, as you know, Greg has left and he's working over in St. John's at this time. But Leanne, who has been an integral part of this team for the last 8 years, is heading to JTA to do something. She's going to have a great opportunity there in the PR, project management, which is a passion of hers, but she will be missed. Her efforts, and in particular, the passion that she brought to helping students and teachers. As you know, she's very passionate. The expo, the scholarships that we do at the Chamber have really been her passion, and we are so thankful, and we are greatly appreciative of the 8 years of service she has given to us. And so on your way out, make sure you say fair winds and following seas to Leanne. And so, in short order, I'll represent 33%. So I'm learning how to take out the trash and do a whole bunch of things. If you want to learn about a company, start having to do things that you typically don't do. And I'm learning all sorts of things about the Chamber. It's like, I got to do what? My golf game is definitely not doing well right now. Well, it's not. If you notice, as you come in, you can't, but you can see the green right there. The course is closed for the next 4 months. They're redoing the greens and a few other renovations, but it's redoing the greens, and they won't reopen until September 25th. So you'll see Orange Park members scattering to the wind playing. A lot of it will be at Plumbing Island, which is co-owned by the owner of this club.
Come down to Eagle Harbor.
Yeah, Eagle Harbor. There you go. So with that, I want to thank our sponsors at this time. And our presenting sponsor is Orange Park Medical Center, who is celebrating 40 years in the community. They employ 1,350 folks, of which half live here in Clay County, so that's fantastic. They payroll of $90 million. They paid $6 million in taxes, $8 million to local vendors. So we are appreciative of that support. $230 million in charitable or uncompensated care. And they support 70 local nonprofits and charities, which many are sitting here, of which many were sitting before Diane's committee yesterday. Some tough decisions, but we thank you for your support. I also think fondly of Orange Park Medical because that's where my 2 daughters were born many, many years ago, so they always have a spot in my heart. And we want to thank Chad. You've hit the floor running, and we can't thank you enough for you and your team's leadership in the community. Our executive sponsor is Waste Pro. Our corporate sponsor is Advanced Disposal, and our newest heritage member, AT&T, and they're also, as I mentioned, a big sponsor in our new event, the food and networking event in July. So to introduce our 2 rock star legislators is our newest rock star, Leslie Dewar, who, as I mentioned this past weekend, was elected as the new chair of the state Republican Party, replacing Lenny Curry, who you saw in the paper yesterday, who was filed to run for mayor up in Jacksonville. So good luck to him for his leadership up there. If you want to talk to her now, would be a good time because she's probably going to be a tad busy over the next several months running around the state. But if you want to get to the governor, she also has to speak out to the governor too. So there's a good connection right there. So let's give Leslie a great chamber welcome and a big hearty congratulations.
Thank you. I guess I'm chairman of the Republican Party. Didn't really kind of think this was going to happen as it did, but it did. And the one thing that I learned is to ask, the first question is there press in the room? Is anybody from the press? The governor just called me, and funny that you said that, but he did just call. When the governor calls, you have to answer the phone, and he said, you're going to be doing a lot of media, so you're going to need media training, and saw a couple interviews. You did great. So anyway, media is a way of life when you become an elected official, as these two obviously know. And I would like to introduce our Representative Travis Cummings, who will take a brief 5 minutes so we know what will last about 15, and give us an update on our legislative issues that have gone before us. And I'm going to put the clock on.
Thank you. That's a warm introduction. I expected from those I care and love about about here back home. After 2 minutes have already passed. It takes me to say it opening line. But thank you all. Thank you. I see many faces. Some I've had a chance to see today, which is really the first time since we've been back. I've been kind of taking a little vacation with the family and so forth, including the animal kingdom yesterday with 2 and 4-year-old. That was we talked for a whole time about that. At Disney. But a few things, and I was trying to think of some good. I'll have some things a little later. Some Rob experiences being my roommate in Tallahassee. But I've got a couple things. Although he had so many great stories to tell and make fun of in the first session, it was kind of a little lighter this time. But we'll talk about that in a second. But thanks to y'all for so many of you who visited Tallahassee. I know Rob will echo that this past session, which is very, very important to advocate either for your local government, for your business, for particular special interests, to learn more about the process, whatever it may be, and that takes a lot of time to go up there and through the maze of the Capitol and so forth. So we really appreciate that. A couple of little tidbits. 1,811 bills were filed this last session, which is a big number, and particularly when House members can only file 6 bills. Obviously, there's some committee bills and so forth. And obviously, each bill has to have a Senate and a House sponsor. And so that's a lot of pieces of legislation, rightfully so, with Rob and I being pro-business and obviously for as less regulation and government in our processes as possible. 1,811 bills do not need to pass at the end. And that's why it's a very good process. It's hard to understand it's some time, but I can tell you it works very well. 264 bills passed the House and Senate, so 264 out of 1,811 that were filed. Of that, the governor will veto a few bills, including the raising the speed limit bill, which I know that Van Roy was disappointed in. He's got a heavy foot, but that was something he felt inclined to do. So that's interesting. That was a little lower, Senator Bradley, than a lot. 264 bills. It's an election year. Let's face it, for not only legislators but particularly our Republican governor. And there was a concerted effort to really focus on the budget, which is our core responsibility, and that was done. So I know Rob will cover some of that. A couple bills that I was a good fortune of working through the process that I know will be news to each and every one of you. Dr. Standish called Rob and I during our first session and said, "Hey, it's been shut down, his dentist practice, due to failure to pay his workers' comp premiums." Anybody know Dr. Standish? He's a law-abiding citizen and a good man and wants a safe environment. It was a mistake by the insurance carrier, a very reputable insurance carrier. Those things, I guess, happen. The state CFO Atwater's office he handles all that on a database, very proactive. They shut him down, stop work order was issued, and he couldn't see patients for a day or two. We got right to the bottom of it, got him up and running, but it told us that there are some good actors out there that we want to get back up and running. So I ran a piece of legislation for the CFO's office in tandem with Senator Galvano, and that passed and gives some protection there to still really have a lot of teeth in our laws for those trying to skirt the workers' comp statutes, but also to get folks like Dr. Standish up and going. University of Florida, everybody knows I have some Bulldog roots, but for my roommate, he did ask me to run. He runs probably plenty of bills for University of Florida, being a rabid, obnoxious gator. And so they were having a lot of problems with a research institution. They do an incredible amount of research, particularly with cancer, but a lot of just drug medications and so forth all have to be approved by the FDA, very much regulated. A lot of your animal activists have gotten downright far more than just protests, but death threats and things to the UF researchers. They're having problems recruiting researchers to our great state because of that. We ran a public records exemption for those researchers on their personal information, their families, kids, wives, different things were being exposed to this. That was a good bill, even if it was for for the Gators. But no, that I think went well. Moving to a couple things as I get to my 10th or 11th minute here, I'm sure. Is that Brian Knight, I know we mentioned you got the Ambassador Award, obviously, from the Governor. We were fortunate to be there for that, and Bill was up there, but for your business, Pragmatic Works, and what you do for the military and veterans, as well as just providing jobs for us and your entrepreneurship. So let's give Brian a things will come up in question and answer that we'd love to talk about, including the trauma situation in Orange Park, which we hear from a lot of you about how important that is. First Coast Outer Beltway. But I want to end with just some appropriations. It took me a while. Rob, being a subcommittee chair his first year as a freshman, I guess we're moving out of our freshman term here, thank goodness. But Rob really did a tremendous job last year, and I can't tell you how much that helps us in this region to have someone that is the chair of an appropriations committee. The second year, we really got better at this. We haven't mastered it necessarily, but folks like Clay Behavioral, we were happy that the governor kept that in the budget a couple days ago, and the folks y'all are doing through your ACAP program and crisis prevention over on Nightbox Road. Thank you, Irene, for what you and your team and Tina does. And thank you for the governor and Senator Bradley for your help. Youth Challenge Academy was another one, was vetoed last year. Rob and I went back to work, and $750,000, I think, that we got through. The governor signed it. We care for and mentor and develop students from all across our state. We felt the state should be a partner in that. That'll help the Clay County School Board and Superintendent Van Zandt and their administration greatly, not to mention that program, so we're happy about that. Finally, Rob will cover a few things as well. The Quigley House, and you know the numbers more direct, but I believe it went from 200 to 400, doubled it, got half of that in recurring dollars, which recurring is very important, we've all learned. And we're going to work on that with Clay Behavioral as well. We've got some others that Rob and I are committed. We're meeting with in the off season. That this isn't an easy process. Sometimes it may seem easy, but it's not. That we're going to work with as well. Finally, I spoke to Joe Pickens, the president of St. John's River State College, Monday to deliver some good news. Rob and I have worked on some significant capital dollars of over $3 million for the Orange Park campus, which will really help develop and serve more students in a high-quality way. That was spared the veto pen as well, and those aren't easy. And that was a collaborative effort. Senator Thrasher was very instrumental in that as well. So, want to report that. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over, I guess, to Leslie. Or do you want me to introduce the senator? I'd love to do that. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be back with you in a second, but the senator, he'll be here. You know, something.
It'll be as warm as yours.
Something that I enjoyed all the time. You know, we talked about some things about my Speaker of the House, and he just meeting him on his first meeting last time for dinner, and was sharing his food and asking him to try his ahi tuna. That was interesting. So we had a good time that session. But worthy telling that again. The other thing that was always great about Rob. Anybody knows his better half, Jennifer Bradley. Who is not only far more attractive, but smarter than he is, and he'll admit that. But she loves the process, and she loves my wife's chasing around the 2-year-old and 4-year-old, and sometimes I wonder if she knows what I do until I ask her what committees I'm on, where it's at, but she has been there a time or two. But Jennifer is engaged and committed and very supportive of not only the legislative process, but Rob. And so Rob will come back, and it's tough days up there. I mean, you leave at 7 o'clock, sometimes earlier. You go through all your committees. Rob's on a lot more committees in the Senate. He chairs a committee. He comes back, and Jennifer wants a rehash of the day. And so poor guy's up there at 11 o'clock at night. He's dozing off on the couch. Jennifer calls, got all the kids in bed. Rob's rehashing the whole thing. Oh, this senator this senator this person this. And that's always very entertaining to watch. Meanwhile, Travis goes to bed because my wife don't really care what I do. But on a serious note, that's really the truth. But I love Jessica. She was here. I said the same thing. She said the same thing. But really, Rob is not only with the next Senate President, with Andy Gardner, our current Senate President, Don Gates. Y'all know how wonderful job he's doing, but it helps so much it's not just because it's Rob and Travis, it's just because of the relationship we have, and living together up there, as well as having a partner in the Senate to undergo some bad days too, and the challenges, but to really build relationships. And I can't tell you a day that go by I don't speak with someone in the process, maybe a lobbyist, maybe a senator, maybe a House member, maybe the governor's office, that just rave about the work that your fine Senator Rob Bradley has done, and it's a pleasure serving with him, and I think we got many, many good years ahead. And please welcome Senator Rob Bradley.
Well, that was warm. Well, let me return the favor. The process is complicated sometimes, and sometimes it's hard to get done what you want to get done. But when you have a partner in the other chamber, because you can pass all the bills out of the Senate that you want to pass. You can put all the appropriations in the budget on the Senate's budget that you want. But if you don't have a companion in the House that matches up, then it doesn't matter. You have to, our system is designed, as you know from your basic civics class, to have we have a bicameral legislature. And so you have to have the House and the Senate both pass a bill for it to become law. You have to have the governor to sign it. And then on the budget side, a lot of great ideas die because the House doesn't agree with what you want to do in the Senate. And I can just tell you, for instance, looking at Peggy, the best example of how much of an impact Representative Cummings is making is between his first and second year, he actually got a battlefield promotion. And we work in 2-year cycles in Tallahassee. I was chairman of appropriations for civil and criminal justice, and that's a 2-year seat. And that is very rare that those things change midstream. Your representative was promoted to be vice chairman of the companion Appropriations Committee in the House Justice Appropriations Committee. And that really was a nod to him, and it was a nod to the work that we're doing in justice. And so that was very rare and unusual, and speaks to how much the Speaker of the House and the leadership over in the House realizes that Representative Cummings is going to be a force in Tallahassee for years to come. So the good news is, with Leslie coming on board as RPOF chairman, I feel like we're making good strides in Tallahassee, in the House and the Senate. They are hearing our voice in Clay County for the first time in a long time in Tallahassee. Not since John Thrasher and Jim Horn were over there have they heard that voice, quite frankly. And now they're hearing it loud and clear. And we are getting the attention that a county that is growing and is vibrant and is almost 200,000 people, which is amazing. We're getting the attention that a community like that deserves. And it's really a reflection of the fact that so many people in this room, it's so nice to be home and seeing all the friendly faces. And I went to my oldest graduated this weekend from St. John's Country Day, and he's going to UNF. And that's the difference between D.C., I think, and Tallahassee, is that we go over there and we work hard, and then we're done. The session ends, and we come home. We go back to our jobs and our families, and we go and then we kind of crank up again next year and do the people's business. But we have lives outside of being senators and representatives. Whereas in D.C., I think part of the dysfunction that you see up there is they live in such a bubble, and that's their full-time job. And it's like an echo chamber. And they read the same newspapers, and they read the same media, and the same websites, and they talk to one another. And it's so important to get out and to live in your community, to understand what's important to you. I mean, how would I have known how critical the need of Clay Behavioral Health was unless I was in this community, living in this community, seeing the impact of the lack of services, where they needed more funds to provide those services. If I didn't live here, talk to everybody in the community. But when you think about how far Florida has come since being the epicenter of the Great Recession, it really is amazing. We were the epicenter of the Great Recession. Florida's unemployment was over 11%. Our housing market was absolutely in the tank. And now, amazingly, we are literally leading the country out of the Great Recession. Florida is the leader. And that doesn't happen by accident. But if you look at the numbers are unmistakable and they're clear. We're below the national average in unemployment now, from being above the national average and setting records for unemployment. In the 4 years leading up to Governor Scott taking office, we lost over 800,000 private sector jobs. Since he took office, we have gained over 600,000 private sector jobs. It's the tourism, and you think tourism is great for a lot of reasons. We appreciate you going to Animal Kingdom with your family there yesterday. Hope you spent a lot of money on the mouse. And I will tell you, it's not just because it creates jobs, which is wonderful. You realize that we are a sales tax dependent state government. Our budget was about a little over $70 billion, a little over $75 billion this year. Compare that to New York, which is over $140 billion. Same size state, same number of people, twice the state budget. Just to give a comparison about two different ways to approach the idea of government. But we don't have an income tax, right? Our sales tax, 23% of sales tax is generated from people who come here from out of state, hang out for a little while, and leave. Don't use our social services, don't use our Medicaid, don't use our education system. They come, they spend money, and they fund almost a quarter of our state government sales tax revenues. So we watch these tourism numbers very, very closely. And what we've learned is we're about to have 100 million tourists in this upcoming year. We're about to break records for tourism in the state of Florida. And so when we talk about things like investing in springs, investing in the St. Johns River, investing in our natural resources, it's an investment not only in God's creation, it's an investment in the fact that we want people to come to Florida, love Florida, and want to stay here, visit here, and spend their money here because it creates jobs for our economy. The budget, that's the one thing we have to do. Travis talked about, we approved something like 220 bills this year, which if we approved 10 bills, that wouldn't hurt my feelings. As a Republican, I think that sometimes the reaction to government is, let's go find out a bill to fix this problem. Let's figure out, what the bill is that we need to do, the language we need to write to fix a problem. And bills are important, and I'll talk about a couple of them I think that were crucial to some core functions of state government that I was involved in. But, I think I regard that as a badge of honor that we passed less bills this last year than we have in a long time in Tallahassee. Because that's such a different approach than you see in D.C. D.C., if there's a problem, let's do a regulation. If the healthcare system is broken, which it is, let's overhaul 20% of the economy and do a top-down approach called Obamacare. Well, we're taking a different approach in Tallahassee for sure. But our budget had a couple of highlights that I want to emphasize because we had a surplus. I talked about the fact that our job creation is setting records across the nation. We're leading the nation in job creation. And with that comes a bounty because people have more money, they're spending more money, our tax receipts are up. But we decided to do something very unusual in government. We said, this isn't our money, this is your money. You created it, your businesses created it, your families created it, and so we're going to take a part of that bounty and give it back because it's your money. And so we approved $500 million in tax cuts this past year. That's just a philosophical. I hear from my friends on the left, what, does it really make a difference, $26 on your vehicle tax? Well, everybody, I don't know about you, but I was stunned when I showed up in 2009 and realized that they had doubled the amount I had to pay for vehicle registration. And how often does something like that happen and then it just stays the same? And they just keep the money forever. And we said, we're not going to do that this time. It was an emergency. They did it because they had to keep the lights on. But now we're back to where we need to be. It's your money. And we rolled it back to the levels in 2009 for vehicle registration. So it's more than just $26, which is a lot of money in your pocket for every Floridian. This isn't a targeted tax cut for some big business. This is everybody sharing in the benefit. Okay? It's more than that. It's a philosophy. It's an approach. It's a belief that we needed that during a time period where things were rough. We don't need it anymore. It's your money. And that's what that reflects. And we also have the hurricane sales tax for hurricane preparedness sales tax holiday. You know that on June 1st, the hurricane season begins, and we've been really blessed not to have any hurricanes over the last few years. But with that blessing comes a certain forgetting of the fact that this can be devastating. And we're as vulnerable here as anybody else in the state. And so try to take advantage of that. It applies to, if you get my emails, Travis says I send one out every 2 days. So, it has all the items that are listed that are eligible for the sales tax. I was proud to sponsor that in the Senate this year, the Hurricane Preparedness Sales Tax Holiday. And the reason why I felt it was important is we have these sales tax holidays, which I think are great, particularly the back-to-school holiday. But this one, I think, has a particular public service benefit that we're seeing now. How many news stories have you seen? Or some reporters in front of Home Depot or something saying, hey, get ready for hurricane season. We've got a sales tax holiday. It creates a public awareness that you don't always see in tax cuts. So you only get the tax cut. We get the free public service, letting everybody know that hurricane season is upon us and it's time to get ready. We also did $3.1 billion in reserves, and that sounds so boring. Reserves, and I understand that because a lot of people wanted us to take that $3.1 billion and spend it on a lot of very well-meaning, very important things in the world, in our state. That could have helped a lot of people. But let me tell you why we put $3.1 billion in reserves. Because you can do it that way, or you can do it like, for instance, Rhode Island, or California, or Illinois have done it, where they don't do reserves, where they're always borrowing more and more. You could do like Illinois, who decided because they didn't have any reserves and because they couldn't borrow any more money, they're going to raise everyone's personal income tax by 62%. Or you could do it like Rhode Island and fire a bunch of teachers and fire a bunch of public service personnel because they just don't have any money to pay them anymore and they didn't save for a rainy day. So we've taken a very different approach, and don't even get me started on California. But we've taken a very different approach to fiscal management in Florida that they have in many of our other sister states. And I will tell you that it's paying off now, and it's going to pay off in spades going forward. Because we're not only leading now in job creation, private sector job creation, but we are going to be uniquely positioned when the economy explodes because we continue to invest in roads and ports and infrastructure. And the First Coast Outer Beltway, we poured another $22 million into the First Coast Outer Beltway.